Hi guys, here one of Boris Johnson's tinfoil hat wearing supporters tried to push a Brexit narrative. First of all, Johnson's resignation letter leaves the door open for his return, and his supporters believe two things: that he was betrayed by Rishi Sunak and others like him, but also that he was removed by Remainers who were determined to stop Brexit. In the letter he says, "I am not alone in thinking that there is a witch hunt underway to take revenge for Brexit and ultimately to reverse the 2016 referendum result." Then he says, "Why have we abandoned the prospect of a free trade deal with the US?" Along with, "We need to deliver on the 2019 manifesto, which was endorsed by 14 million people. We should remember more than 17 million voted for Brexit." Now let's get to the tinfoil hat man.
And the whole thing is a disgrace. And the point is, as I say, it doesn't actually follow normal rules of procedure in a court, which would be much stricter about what the individual MPs said. I mean, Harriet Harman said he was guilty right from the start. She's tweeting this. And that is outrageous. It's not fair. And I think the public are going to wake up to this and think it's an establishment stitch-up punishment for Brexit.
Okay, that's what Boris Johnson says. "I'm not alone in thinking that there is a witch hunt underway to take revenge for Brexit and ultimately to reverse the 2016 referendum result." What Sir Charles Walker and Sir Bernard Jenkin are trying to reverse Brexit. I mean, this seems delusional that you're suggesting that those two would back some sort of witch hunt to reverse Brexit, and this is what that is. David Campbell Bannerman.
Sorry, that was for me. I thought.
Yes.
I don't think it is delusional. I mean, I'm very aware. I mean, I do call it a coup, how they got rid of Boris. The time yes, it is a coup. It's if you actually analyse what went on and the use of the media, a cake that he didn't even eat. I mean, that came out in the Privileges Committee. His advisors ate that cake. I don't think he ever saw it. So, I mean, a lot of this is farcical, but it's very dangerous. And it is about Brexit. And Boris, was very important to the referendum. I campaigned with him in Norwich. And he was very important to it. And I think he's been punished for that more than anything. Get rid of Boris and you get Labour in and they can start reversing. That's what it's all really about.
That's what it's all about. It's absolutely delusional. Once again. And him pushing this thing of, well, Boris Johnson, there was a coup against him. And this is where they point the finger at, of course, Rishi Sunak. But this idea about there's a conspiracy to bring down Brexit. And Boris Johnson is the first step in that along that road. So get rid of Boris Johnson. That means Labour will get into power, and then Labour's first action will be to get the UK back into the EU. That's what the Brexiteers believe is going to happen, people like this. Now, if you believe Boris Johnson, well, Brexit is done. So how would the UK get back into the EU? How would Labour get the UK back into the EU? Well, the only way the UK could rejoin would be, first of all, for a referendum to take place in the UK. So is this guy against a referendum? Probably. But if there's support, there was support in Britain for leaving the EU, well then surely if there's support for the UK to rejoin, then he shouldn't have a problem with that. I presume he's somebody who believes in democracy. But this idea that if you get rid of Boris Johnson, that somehow undoes Brexit. If support for Brexit was beginning to drop when Boris Johnson was Prime Minister, then how can you say, well, putting Boris Johnson back in place would boost support for Brexit? The reason people are no longer supporting Brexit has nothing to do with Boris Johnson. It's to do with reality. Businesses are struggling. The NHS can't get the staff it needs. Hospitality is struggling. Healthcare is in dire straits. And a lot of this is down to Brexit. Nothing to do with Boris Johnson. Yes, the type of Brexit he inflicted is extremely damaging. But putting Boris Johnson back into number 10 is not going to boost Brexit. It only helps Boris Johnson. And I really don't understand these sycophants, these tinfoil hat people, that, first of all, I don't understand their support for Boris Johnson. But second, does he really believe what he's saying here, that if you get rid of Boris Johnson, you're going to get rid of Brexit? It's nonsensical. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.